What if the key to unlocking your entire life wasn't a secret, but a practice you've ignored? The noise of the world is loud, but the clarity you seek is found within. Don't just watch this, absorb it. The final idea we explore is the one that will connect everything for you. Understanding discomfort. You are here listening to these words because some part of you feels a sense of friction, a sense of discomfort. It is not a dramatic, loud suffering for most, but a quiet, persistent feeling that things are not quite right. It is the feeling of being misaligned, like a wheel that is not perfectly round, causing a bumpy ride no matter how smooth the road. We spend so much of our energy trying to fix the road, believing that if we can just get a better job, a different relationship, or more possessions, the ride will finally become smooth. But the issue is rarely the road. The issue is almost always the wheel. This discomfort is not your enemy. It is a message. It is a compassionate signal from your deepest self that your current way of navigating the world is causing this friction. It is an invitation to pause, to look inward, and to understand the nature of your own mind. This feeling of dissatisfaction is a universal human experience. It arises from a fundamental misunderstanding. We believe that fulfillment comes from the outside, from acquiring and achieving. But the external world is, by its very nature, unstable and impermanent. Everything changes. Seasons change, people change, our own bodies change. To place our hope for lasting peace on something that is inherently unstable is to build a house on shifting sand. So when the world inevitably changes in a way we do not like, we suffer, we feel this friction, we resist what is, we fight against reality, and this fight is the very source of our exhaustion and our pain. The change you seek is not in controlling the world, but in understanding your relationship to it. It begins with turning your attention away from the external chaos and toward the internal source of that chaos, your own perception. Think of your mind like a glass of water with sediment at the bottom. When you are constantly rushing, reacting, and being shaken by external events, the water is cloudy. The sediment is stirred up, and you cannot see through it clearly. You make decisions from this place of murkiness. You react from this place of confusion. The practice, the daily work, is not to forcefully remove the sediment. It is simply to allow the glass to be still. When you are still, the sediment naturally settles, and the water becomes clear. Your true nature is this clear water. The discomfort you feel is the perpetual state of being stirred up. So the first step in changing your life is not to do more, but to be more, to be still enough to see what is already there, to see the nature of the mind that is creating the friction. Why do we resist this stillness? Because when the water begins to clear, we start to see what is really in the glass. We see the thoughts, the fears, the insecurities that we have been running from, and this can be frightening. It is often easier to stay busy, to keep the water cloudy, than to face the reality of our own inner world. But there is no freedom there. There is only a temporary distraction from the inevitable. The courage required to change your life is the courage to sit with yourself, to look at the sediment not as a flaw, but simply as what is present, to observe it without judgment. This is the beginning of self-mastery. It is not about defeating an enemy within you, but about understanding the components of your own consciousness with clarity and compassion. The discomfort is your guide. It is pointing the way. Now let us look at where it is pointing. The journey inward starts with a simple yet profound shift in awareness. We must move from being the actor in the drama of our lives to being the audience. For your entire life, you have likely identified completely with the character on the stage, the one who feels angry, the one who feels sad, the one who is striving and fearing. You believe you are this character, but who is it that is aware that you are angry? Who is it that notices the sadness? There is a level of awareness, a silent witness, that is behind all of these experiences. The discomfort arises when the character on the stage is in pain. The freedom arises when you realize you are the silent, spacious awareness in which the entire play unfolds. This is not a metaphor. It is the key to unlocking the mechanism of your own mind. The first step of this daily practice is to simply acknowledge this inner space. Observing thoughts. The most fundamental practice, the one you can begin this very moment and carry with you for the rest of your life, is the observation of your own thoughts. Your mind is a thought-generating machine. It produces thoughts endlessly, just as your heart beats and your lungs breathe. This is its nature. The problem is not that you have thoughts, the problem is that you believe you are your thoughts. You attach to them, identify with them, and allow them to dictate your entire emotional state and your actions. A thought appears, "I am not good enough," and you immediately fuse with it. It becomes your reality. This fusion is the source of immense suffering. You are not the thought. You are the space in which the thought appears. Imagine you are sitting on the bank of a river. The thoughts are like leaves, sticks, and other debris floating by on the water's surface. Your habit has been to jump into the river and grab onto every single piece of debris, struggling with it, trying to analyze it, getting pulled downstream by it. The practice is to simply remain on the bank, to watch the leaves float by. A thought of anger appears. You see it, you acknowledge it, and you let it float away. A thought of anxiety appears. You see it, you feel its texture, and you let it float on by. You do not have to engage. You do not have to believe it. You are the observer on the bank, not the debris in the water. This practice of non-identification is the core of mental freedom. This is not a passive activity. It requires a gentle but consistent effort. The mind will constantly try to pull you back into the river. That is its habit. When you notice you have been pulled in, when you find yourself lost in a story, caught in a loop of worry or regret, the practice is to gently, and without any self-criticism, guide yourself back to the riverbank. Every time you do this, you are strengthening a new neural pathway. You are training the muscle of awareness. It is exactly like physical training. You would not go to the gymnasium, lift a weight once, and expect to be strong. You return every day. You practice consistently. The same is true for the mind. Each time you return to the observer's seat, you are performing one repetition in the training of self-mastery. The content of your thoughts does not matter as much as your relationship to them. We spend so much time trying to have only positive thoughts and get rid of negative thoughts. This is another form of struggle, another form of fighting with the river. It is exhausting. A more skillful approach is to allow all thoughts to be as they are, but to not grant them the power to define you. A dark cloud is not the sky. It is something that is temporarily passing through the sky. Your awareness is the sky, vast, open, and fundamentally untouched by any cloud that passes through it. When you can rest in this understanding, the thoughts lose their charge. They are no longer threats. They are simply mental weather patterns, and you are the stable, unchanging sky. Try this for just 2 minutes every day. Sit quietly and simply label what your mind is doing. Thinking, worrying, planning, remembering. Do not get into the content of the story. Just notice the process. This simple act of labeling creates a small gap of separation between you and the thought. In that gap is your freedom. In that gap, you have a choice. You can choose to engage with the thought, or you can choose to let it go and return your attention to your breath, to the present moment. This choice, repeated thousands of times, is how you change your life. You are no longer a slave to the random firings of your own mind. You are becoming its master. This is not about control in the sense of suppression, but mastery in the sense of wise and compassionate understanding. Taming ego. As you begin to observe your thoughts, you will start to notice a very specific and persistent character in your mind. This character is the narrator of your life's story. It is the voice that says I, me, and mine. It is the part of you that is concerned with its reputation, its status, its successes, and its failures. This is the ego. The ego is not inherently evil. It is a necessary psychological structure for navigating the world. It helps you form an identity. The problem arises when we become completely identified with this structure, when we believe that this small, constructed self is all that we are. The ego is a master storyteller, and its favorite story is about itself. This story is the source of comparison, of jealousy, of pride, of shame, all of the states that cause us deep and persistent friction. The ego thrives on separation. It defines itself by what it is not. I am smarter than him. She is more successful than me. I have this, and they do not. This constant comparison is a recipe for perpetual unhappiness because there will always be someone who has more, who is more, according to some arbitrary metric. The ego is also deeply attached to outcomes. It needs to win. It needs to be right. It fears being wrong, looking foolish, or failing. This attachment to a specific future outcome creates immense anxiety and tension because the future is, by its nature, uncertain. When things do not go according to the ego's plan, it feels threatened and it suffers. To change your life, you must learn to see the ego's mechanisms clearly, not as you, but as a pattern of thought and behavior that you can choose to step back from. The practice of taming the ego is one of humility, not a false humility of self-deprecation, but a true and powerful humility that comes from seeing reality clearly. It is the recognition that you are not the center of the universe. You are a part of a vast, interconnected web of existence. Your story is just one story among billions. This perspective does not diminish you. It liberates you. It frees you from the exhausting burden of having to constantly defend, protect, and promote your small self. When you are less invested in being right, you can listen more deeply. When you are less concerned with your own image, you can connect more authentically with others. When you are less attached to a specific outcome, you can act with courage and integrity, regardless of the result. How do you practice this? You start by noticing the ego's voice. When you feel a surge of defensiveness, ask yourself, what is being defended here? Is it a truth or is it an image of myself? When you feel envy, ask, what story is my mind telling me about my own lack? When you feel pride, notice how it creates a sense of separation and superiority. Simply notice, do not judge the ego. That is just the ego judging itself. Simply see it with the clear light of awareness. Another powerful practice is to intentionally do things that the ego resists. Listen to someone you disagree with the genuine intention to understand their perspective, not to formulate your rebuttal. Acknowledge when you are wrong. Celebrate the success of others genuinely. Each of these acts weakens the ego's grip and strengthens your connection to your true, spacious self. Ultimately, taming the ego is about shifting your identity from the story of me to the silent awareness that is witnessing the story. The ego is a tool, not the master. A good craftsman knows his tools, knows their strengths and their limitations. He does not identify with his hammer. He picks it up when he needs it and sets it down when he does not. You can learn to do the same with your ego. You can use its functions to plan and execute tasks in the world, but you do not have to live inside its prison of fear and desire. Your true home is the vast, peaceful awareness that lies behind it. This is a gradual process of disidentification. It is a journey from being the character in the story to being the loving, wise author who holds it all with compassion. This is the path to inner peace. Cultivating stillness. The mind, left to its own devices, is like a wild horse, powerful, energetic, but running in all directions without purpose. The practice of cultivating stillness is the process of gently and patiently training this horse. It is not about breaking its spirit, but about building a relationship with it based on trust and understanding, so that its power can be harnessed and directed. The primary arena for this training is formal meditation practice. This simply means setting aside a dedicated period of time each day, even 5 or 10 minutes, to sit quietly and turn your attention inward. This is not an escape from life. It is a preparation for life. It is where you build the core strength of awareness that you will then carry with you into every moment of your day. The foundation of this practice is the breath. Your breath is the most powerful anchor to the present moment you will ever have. Thoughts will pull you into the past, regret, nostalgia, or into the future, anxiety, planning. The breath is always happening now. The instruction is simple. Find a comfortable, upright posture. Close your eyes gently and bring your full attention to the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves your body. Feel the coolness of the air in your nostrils. Feel the rise and fall of your abdomen or chest. Do not try to control the breath. Simply observe it as it is. Let it be natural. Your only job is to rest your attention on this simple, repetitive, life-sustaining process. Inevitably, your mind will wander, a thought will arise, a sound will distract you, a sensation in your body will demand attention. This is not a failure. This is the moment the practice truly begins. The moment you realize your mind has wandered is a moment of pure awareness. It is a victory. In that moment, without any frustration or self-judgment, you simply and gently guide your attention back to the breath. This is the movement from distraction back to the anchor, from the chaos of thought back to the stillness of the present moment. You will do this hundreds, perhaps thousands of a time in a single session. This is the training. Each return is a repetition that strengthens your ability to choose where you place your attention. Many people become discouraged because they believe the goal of meditation is to have an empty mind, a mind with no thoughts. This is a misunderstanding. You cannot stop the mind from thinking, just as you cannot stop your ears from hearing. The goal is not to stop the thoughts, but to change your relationship to them. The goal is to sit in the midst of the mental traffic without getting hit by any of the cars. You are building a sanctuary of stillness and stability within yourself that is not dependent on external conditions. Whether the world around you is chaotic or calm, whether your mind is busy or quiet, you have this anchor of the breath, this home base in the present moment to which you can always return. This daily practice of stillness will begin to ripple out into the rest of your life. You will start to notice small gaps of silence between your thoughts. You will find yourself more present in conversations, listening more deeply instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You will become less reactive to triggers. When someone says something that would normally provoke an angry response, you might notice a small pause before you react. In that pause, you have a choice. This is where true change happens. It happens in these small moments of conscious choice, which are born from the stillness you have cultivated in your daily practice. Stillness is not an absence of activity. It is the source of wise and compassionate activity. It is the solid ground from which you can navigate the challenges of life with grace and clarity. Purposeful action. The clarity gained in stillness is not meant to remain on the meditation cushion. Its true purpose is to inform your actions in the world. A life of meaning is not found in passive contemplation alone, but in the integration of inner wisdom with outer activity. This is purposeful action. It is action that is aligned with your deepest values, undertaken with full awareness, and performed without attachment to the outcome. It is the difference between mindlessly going through the motions of your day and engaging with each task, no matter how small, as an opportunity to practice presence and express your true self. This shifts the focus from what you are doing to how you are doing it. You can wash the dishes with resentment and distraction, or you can wash the dishes with full attention, feeling the warmth of the water and the texture of the soap, turning a mundane chore into a meditative practice. To discover your purposeful action, you must first connect with your core values. What truly matters to you beneath the layers of societal expectation and egoic desire? Is it compassion? Is it creativity? Is it service to others? Is it the pursuit of truth? Your inner stillness is the place where you can listen for the answers to these questions. When your actions are not aligned with these deep values, you will feel that sense of friction, of discomfort. That is the signal that you are off course. Purposeful action is the process of continually adjusting your course, making small and large choices that bring your daily life into greater harmony with what you know to be true in your heart. This gives your life a sense of direction and coherence that is deeply fulfilling. A key element of purposeful action is non-attachment to the results. This is a subtle but crucial point. It does not mean you do not care about the outcome or that you do not strive for excellence. It means that your sense of worth and inner peace is not dependent on the outcome. You pour your full energy and attention into the process, into the action itself, because the action is an expression of your values. You do your best, and then you let go. You accept the results, whatever they may be, with equanimity. This is incredibly liberating. It frees you from the anxiety of potential failure and the arrogance of potential success. You act out of integrity, not out of a need for a specific reward. The reward is the action itself, performed with presence and purpose. This applies to all areas of your life. In your work, it means focusing on the quality of your contribution rather than just the promotion or the paycheck. In your relationships, it means listening with the intent to understand rather than to win an argument. In your personal projects, it means enjoying the process of creation rather than being solely focused on the final product. When you act in this way, you infuse your life with a sense of the sacred. Nothing is mundane. Every moment, every task is an opportunity to be fully alive and present. This is how you change your life, not by changing your circumstances, but by changing the quality of your consciousness within those circumstances. So, the daily practice extends beyond your formal sitting. It is a 24-hour-a-day practice. When you are walking, feel the sensation of your feet on the ground. When you are eating, taste the food. When you are working, be fully engaged with the task at hand. When you find your mind has wandered into distraction or worry, gently bring it back to the present action. This is mindfulness in motion. This is living a life of purpose. It is the fusion of being and doing. The stillness you cultivate in the morning becomes the wellspring of clarity from which you act during the day, and the experiences of your day become the material for observation in your next period of stillness. It is a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle that gradually transforms your entire existence from a series of unconscious reactions into a flow of conscious, purposeful creation. Embracing impermanence. One of the deepest truths you will uncover in your practice of observation is the universal law of impermanence. Everything is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is permanent. Your thoughts arise and pass away. Your emotions ebb and flow like the tides. Your body is changing with every breath. The seasons turn, civilizations rise and fall. This is the nature of reality. Our suffering does not come from the fact that things change. It comes from our desire for them to stay the same when they are pleasant, and for them to be different when they are unpleasant. We are trying to grasp onto smoke. We are building dams in a flowing river. This resistance to the natural flow of life is the root of our deepest anxieties. To embrace impermanence is not a pessimistic or nihilistic act. It is, in fact, the key to profound joy and appreciation. When you truly understand that every moment is fleeting and will never come again, you begin to treat each moment with a certain reverence. You appreciate the beauty of a sunset precisely because you know it will not last. You cherish a conversation with a loved one because you know that time is finite. The preciousness of life is revealed not in spite of its impermanence, but because of it. Trying to hold on to pleasure is like trying to capture a beautiful melody by stopping the music. The beauty is in the flow, in the progression from one note to the next. To stop it is to destroy it. Your life is a melody, let it play. The practice here is one of radical acceptance. Acceptance does not mean passivity or resignation. It does not mean you should tolerate injustice or not strive to improve your conditions. It means accepting the reality of the present moment as it is, without internal resistance. If you are feeling sadness, you accept the sadness fully. You allow it to be there without judging it or trying to push it away. You investigate it with curiosity. What does this feel like in my body? Where is the energy? By meeting the experience with acceptance instead of resistance, you take the fuel out of its fire. You will often find that the emotion, once fully felt and accepted, naturally dissolves and passes, like a cloud moving through the sky. The resistance is what keeps it stuck. This applies to external circumstances as well. You may lose a job, you may get sick, a relationship may end. These are painful experiences. The practice is to separate the initial pain from the secondary layer of suffering we add on top of it with our minds. The secondary suffering is the story we tell ourselves. This should not have happened. My life is ruined. I will never be happy again. This is resistance. Acceptance is to acknowledge the reality of the situation. The job is lost. This is what is happening now. From this place of clear-eyed acceptance, you can then ask, what is the most skillful and compassionate action I can take from here? You are no longer wasting energy fighting with what is. You are using that energy to respond wisely to what is. Embracing impermanence frees you from the fear of the future and the regrets of the past. The past is gone, like a footprint on the sand that has been washed away by the tide. The future is unknown, an unwritten page. All you ever have is this present moment, and this present moment is always changing. Your daily practice is to become comfortable in this flow, to learn to surf the waves of life rather than being crushed by them. You do this by returning again and again to your anchor, your breath, your body, the raw sensations of the present. This is your refuge. By befriending impermanence, you align yourself with the fundamental nature of reality itself. There is no greater source of peace and stability than this. You find your stability not in fixed things, but in your ability to flow with change. Daily discipline. The transformation we are speaking of is not the result of a single insight or a momentary flash of inspiration. It is the cumulative effect of small, consistent actions performed over a long period of time. It is the product of discipline. The word discipline often has negative connotations in the modern world. We think of it as harsh, restrictive, and punishing. But the true meaning of discipline, from its Latin root, is related to being a student, a disciple. It is the joyful and willing commitment to a path of learning and growth. It is the structure that gives you freedom. Without the discipline of practicing scales, a musician cannot experience the freedom of improvisation. Without the discipline of training, an athlete cannot experience the freedom of peak performance. Without the discipline of daily practice, you cannot experience the freedom of a mastered mind. This discipline must be infused with compassion. It is not a rigid, self-critical force. It is a gentle, firm commitment you make to yourself because you value your own well-being. There will be days when you do not want to practice. You will feel tired, unmotivated, or distracted. These are the most important days to practice, even if you only sit for 1 minute. The act of showing up, of honoring your commitment to yourself, is more important than the quality of any single session. You are signaling to yourself that your inner peace is a priority. You are choosing to water the seeds of awareness, even when you cannot yet see the flower. This gentle consistency is far more powerful than sporadic bursts of intense effort. Think of it like carving a stone with water. A single drop of water has no effect, but a steady, persistent drip, day after day, year after year, can carve a deep channel into the hardest granite. Your habitual patterns of thought and reaction are like that granite. They are deeply ingrained. Your daily practice of awareness is the steady drip of water. It may seem like nothing is happening from one day to the next, but over time, new channels are being carved. New pathways are being formed in your brain and in your consciousness. The old patterns of reactivity begin to soften and dissolve. This requires patience. It requires trust in the process. You must be willing to continue the practice without needing to see immediate, dramatic results. The results will come, but they come quietly, subtly, over time. To support this discipline, it is helpful to create a structure in your daily life. Designate a specific time and place for your formal practice. Perhaps it is the first thing you do in the morning, before the world has a chance to stir up the water in your glass. Make it a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. Protect this time. It is the most important investment you can make in your entire life. All other successes and failures are secondary to the quality of your own mind. You can also create small reminders throughout your day to bring you back to the present. A simple bell on your phone every hour, a note placed on your desk, the act of walking through a doorway. Use these as cues to take one conscious breath and ask, where is my attention right now? This path is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You will fall off the path. You will forget. You will get lost in thought for hours or even days at a time. This is part of the journey. The practice is not about never falling down. It is about how quickly and how compassionately you get back up. When you realize you have been lost, there is no need for guilt or shame. That is just more thinking. Simply acknowledge it, and with a gentle smile, begin again. Return to the breath. Return to the present moment. This act of beginning again is the heart of the practice. It is an act of profound self-love. It is this compassionate daily discipline that will slowly but surely change everything. Inner freedom. And so, we arrive at the final understanding. The ultimate purpose of this daily practice, of observing thoughts, taming the ego, cultivating stillness, and embracing impermanence, is not to become a better person or to achieve a perfect state of bliss. It is to realize the freedom that is already and has always been your fundamental nature. The change you have been seeking is not a change of you, but a stripping away of all that is not you. It is a return to the pristine, silent, spacious awareness that was present before your first thought, and which will be present after your last. This awareness is your true home. It is untouched by any story, any emotion, any circumstance. It is inherently peaceful, whole, and free. This freedom is not something you acquire from the outside. It is not a destination you arrive at after years of hard work. It is an inner reality you uncover. The work, the discipline, the practice, all of it is simply a process of clearing away the dust and debris that have obscured your view of what is already there. The ego, the conditioning, the habitual thought patterns, these are the clouds. Your true nature is the sky. You have been living your entire life looking at the clouds and believing you are the weather. The Great Awakening is the realization that you are the sky. This realization is not just an intellectual concept, it is a lived, embodied experience. It is the feeling of deep peace that exists underneath the surface noise of the mind. When you touch this inner freedom, your relationship with life transforms. You are no longer desperately seeking happiness from external sources, because you have found the wellspring of peace within yourself. This does not mean you stop enjoying the pleasures of life, but you no longer cling to them. You are no longer terrified of the pain of life because you know that you are the spacious awareness in which the pain can arise and pass without destroying you. You act in the world not from a place of lack or fear, but from a place of fullness and love. Your actions become a natural overflow of the peace you have discovered within. You serve others not because you should, but because you see yourself in them. The illusion of separation dissolves. This is the ultimate change. It is a shift from a life defined by fear to a life guided by wisdom and love. It is a shift from being a prisoner of your own mind to being the master of your own attention. It is the discovery that the cage door has been open all along. You just had to stop identifying with the prisoner and realize you are the space in which the cage exists. This is not a final, static state. It is a moment-to-moment unfolding. The practice continues, but it is no longer a struggle. It becomes a joyful dance with reality, a continuous exploration of the depth and beauty of your own being. The daily practice is no longer a chore you must do to fix yourself, but a celebration of the freedom you are. The change you seek is not in a distant future. It is not a prize to be won. It is available to you in this very moment, in the simple act of turning your attention inward. It is in the feeling of your breath right now. It is in the silence between your thoughts right now. Everything you need is already within you. The only thing required is that you turn toward it. Watch this every day not as a lecture, but as a reminder to come home to yourself. Let these words be the finger pointing to the moon. Do not fixate on the finger, look at the moon. The peace you seek is not in these words, it is in the silent, spacious reality they are pointing to. It is you. This felt less like a video and more like a conversation with my own soul. The analogy of being the observer on the riverbank instead of grabbing the debris in the water, that single idea has completely shifted my perspective on my own anxiety. It's the first time I've felt a sense of control that isn't about fighting, but about letting go. Has anyone else tried this simple observation and felt that immediate sense of relief? It feels like a superpower.